Hey everyone, it is Joanna Phillips, so let's talk about it. And
Tammy Warner.
beautiful day out today. Little wind blown. Had to go out in the public today. Not my forte, but I'm getting better at it. All right, as always, like, share, follow. Uh, speaking of that, something I don't have written down on my list. Again, there's no personal gain here. Um, we're not monetizing this. We're not gaining anything from this. Sorry that the video is so late this week, but my job, which is my personal gain, kind of took precedence this week. And a project that I've been working on was redoing my whole entire website. Super stoked that's done. And
Let's face it, we all have lives outside of everything.
right. But the point is like, the likes and the shares, they're not monetizing. We're not making money on this stuff, right? Likes and shares is to get the information out to more
Exactly.
people. We have nothing to gain by this. If anything, we have, you know,
Right? Some dirty looks.
yeah. I mean, I guess a better way to say it, everything to lose, I
I can
suppose.
already imagine the names we've been called that
Right?
we haven't heard.
Exactly. So, like, share, follow, and let's just get right to it. So, we actually were contacted through private messenger. I think it was last week from one of the producer, I guess, producer director, we'll call them, in regards to the newly resurrected drama club at the high school. Because, there's stuff at the grade school, they do plays and stuff, but once
Yep.
they get up to high school, there's nothing.
No, there's nothing there for the arts.
Right. So they are, and this is so dear to my heart, they're doing a play this year, Willy Wonka. Willy Wonka is my favorite. Not the movie, that was a little scary, but the stuff we watched when we were kids.
Right.
Every year, the two things, especially before cable, and Tammy and I were talking about this earlier, The Wizard of Oz and Willy Wonka. They were only on one time a year.
Yep. And you made sure you watched them.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't matter really how old we got, as
No,
we
I
grew
still
up
watch
as
it.
little kids. You still watch it and you still get that same feeling. It's a
So
way to take
cool.
you back. Yep.
It's so cool. So we were reached out in regards to obviously there's no money in the school budget for the arts in that particular form. And so I did meet with them today, had an awesome meeting, was happy to learn. So they were looking for donations for building materials to build props, etc., as well as costumes. I was very happy when I met with him today. Hence the reason I had to go out and be in public. Um, that they got all the money that they needed for the building materials, which is really cool.
Yes.
Working on the costumes. And so I have a whole list of those. But more importantly, what they're going to need is they're going to need volunteers to help build the props, as well as the night of the plays, stagehands, and probably even rehearsal, like even opening and closing the curtain, helping the kids get their costume changes.
Hey, if you've got any kids that are in the elementary school that are, in the higher end of the elementary school, this would be a cool thing to say,
They could
hey, we
help
want
with.
to be involved in the high school, a production, and it'll give them a little introduction into the high school. I think that would be a really cool idea.
That is actually a really good idea. A really good idea. So they're looking for help. And of course, they're trying to do this in between all the other stuff that goes on in the high school. But if you would be willing to help build props, help on stage transit, I am, barring no catastrophe between now and then, I am, and I think Julian is as well, planning on getting together and helping them that night as well as with some costumes and stuff. So, and actually I have a lot of this stuff for the costumes already. We're going to be thrifting. We're going to be,
Right. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be, hey, if anybody has at home, anything that you think might, fall into the
well,
category of,
I actually have
hey,
a list.
well,
So,
there you go. And then that'll be so helpful because if you have something in your wardrobe that even could be taken apart and made into something,
mhm,
it's all helpful.
exactly.
And even if they can't use it, it's actually a good idea to start if you can donate stuff to the drama club and they can have for future productions. Something to think about.
Agreed. So in any event, if you want to volunteer or you want to help or you can help or volunteer, reach out to us. We'll get everybody kind of organized. So I'm really excited. I just love Willy Wonka. I just love Willy Wonka.
I remember when Eva was little and she'd throw a temper tantrum, I used to call her Veruca.
Baruka,
Okay, Veruca, I want it now.
the goose and the golden eggs, they're doing squirrels. Super cool. So it's kind of their own adaptation, but like I'm like so excited about this. It's the weirdest shit, I know, but I'm pretty excited about it. All right. So reach out if you can help. Backpack program. Let's not forget about the backpack program. We came out with a bang. We're $2,500 short of our goal and $2,500 short of being able to put up a $100 gift certificate to whatever restaurant you want to go to. I will put up that link as well. I better write that down. Backpack.
And again, if you financially can't help, share it out. Let people know. That's helpful too.
It's for the kiddos, man.
Yep. Yep.
My granddaughter and I actually had a conversation because obviously there's people on her bus that she sees they get a backpack on Fridays. And she can't fathom as an 8-year-old how people can't afford food. Like she can't, she doesn't understand.
Right.
So we actually had a very long conversation about that.
The sad thing is she shouldn't have to comprehend that people can't afford food. You know, that's what's so awful is children shouldn't have to go without the food. Other kids shouldn't have to see their friends and fellow students not having food. In the times that we're in the country that we live in, it's just so disgraceful that that's the way things are.
Sad. But it was good to sit and talk to her about it. So a couple weeks ago, well, I have no sense of time. It could have been a month ago. It could have been a month and a half ago. It could have been yesterday. We did a podcast, one of the podcasts we were talking about Milltown Capital, about all the properties and stuff that they're doing in Berkshire County. I did get a message from somebody that works there, as well as she grew up in Lebanon. Her husband owns property in Lebanon. She was surprised to find out that Phyllis was my mom. And I will mention again, I don't know if I should be concerned or giggle that so many people didn't know that Phyllis was my mother, including you.
No, not when we first met. No.
You were like, Phyllis is your mother? As well as a lot of people didn't realize that mom even had kids. So
one would not have thought that. If you were any parent back in the day that had kids that rode a bus, you would have never thought Phyllis had kids.
Yeah. Listen, she threw me off the bus. Me and Ron Patel, she threw us off the bus. Getting off the bus at Lover's Lane. She didn't like how we were walking down the aisle. She turned that bus around and took us back to the high school and made us walk home. We laughed the whole way home. It was really funny. So squirrel on that, sorry. But so she had reached out to me just to tell me all the good things that Milltown Capital does do. I used them as an example. I wasn't trying to shit talk them or downgrade them. It was large investment companies in general.
Really a name to put, to give that connection thought.
Correct. So my apologies. And it was really a conversation about there is going to be a time when there are going to be bigger investment companies coming to Lebanon. And it's not when, it's if. No, it's not if, it's when. So I just wanted to say that I had a great talk with her. And unforgettable is what she called my mother. I'm like, oh, that's a word for it. Unforgettable.
But you know what? If we're being honest, she's right. Your mother for generations, will not be forgotten. For generations.
No.
She will be the source of conversation for every child that comes home and bitches about anything about a bus.
Yeah, and well, it's funny,
Let me tell you
especially with
something.
the town politics, like, if Greg Bomley, oh man, Greg Bomley and my mother were still alive right now, oh my God. So I often wonder, is mom laughing at me or going, girl, what is wrong with you? Anyways, moving on.
Might depend on the day that you ask.
It does depend on the day that you ask. You're not wrong. So let's talk about some committee meetings. Oh, like, where are the rec commission? Is the rec commission meeting? Like, where are those recordings? I've seen one where, and I know they're meeting. I would assume they're meeting every month. Where are the recordings?
Yes. Right, because there's only Ben. Yeah. You're right.
So let's talk about the events committee meeting.
Let's.
So the events committee meeting, I did watch that the other night, and I am going to also post. I would encourage everyone to watch that. And I don't know how many times so many people have said, you are being
It has been
recorded.
stated over and over and over again. So there's no excuse.
And these are the reasons that it's part of the reason that there's a divide. You go to the marketing, outreach, communication, and where people are called naysayers. Then in this committee meeting, there was two comments. One made by, I don't know who the person is, and the other was made by the chair. And it's like, and I will
I don't
encourage
think the
you.
chair should be the chair anymore, because if that is the way this person is going to speak, this is not who should represent an events committee that welcomes people into our town. That person looks like a two-faced individual when they behave the way they behaved. And again, you were on camera. You were on camera and you couldn't even hold yourself to a certain level of decorum and not make snooty snotty, you
Well,
know.
it's kind of interesting because when the first remark was made by someone else earlier in the video, she said, "Remember, we're being recorded."
Right. How soon they forget.
Followed up with, "I don't think anybody watches it anyways."
And here's the thing, what you hear them say
Is
is
how they feel.
exactly who they are. Okay? That's exactly who they are. So look at the impression. This person, again, is the chairperson of a committee that is the welcoming committee to this town.
And
Not a good face forward.
no, and the comment was directed in regards to the loud music at the community picnics.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just one person. It may be one person that sent in an email and complained about it, but there are a lot of older people that think
Yeah,
the
because the
music's too
music
loud.
has gotten more intense, and we're not saying they can't have, you know, when you do the music in the park. But when we're doing a community picnic, people want to converse. They want to, interact with
Hmm.
one another. And when the music is that loud, they can't, especially the elderly. All that extra noise is a lot. Why can't we be considerate? Why instead do we have to go to being a jerk about it, basically? And just say, well, there's things you could say, or we're going to look into whatever, but instead make a snarky remark. Mm,
It's hard.
yeah. But we are the ones that are trashing the town. No, that right there is trashing the town, because that's the face you're putting forward.
All right, let's talk some financial stuff.
Okay.
So we talked about last week that, why are we trying to cut expenses from the needs rather than the wants?
Mhm.
The one thing I did hear in the events committee meeting was that the town supervisor did reach out to committees to see what they could cut from their budget. But there's things, we're worried about $22,000, right? And then I kind of start wondering, there's no money in the budget for the skate park. So like I don't know who's gonna pay for what needs to be done there. There's no money in the budget to paint the bathrooms in the town park. I'm not even sure they're done. But then I wonder, like, my opinion, someone should be looking at all the things. Like every year, just like they look at policies, we should be comparing numbers with phone companies, like Consolidated versus Spectrum, cable, et cetera, office supplies, garbage pickup, all the things. We should be making sure that we're getting the
Getting
best
the
rate
best
for
price,
that
right?
because things change, right?
And every bit adds up.
Right. So I don't know if that's being done. And then I don't know if I brought this up before. The email thing is confusing to me because in my mind, and I could be wrong, because I know with my email, you pay on how much storage space you're keeping, right? So, for example, when a new town board member comes on, let's just say Chris Patterson, the person before him, he maybe got Craig's email.
Right.
So now what happens is you have all Craig's email in there, and then the person before Craig, I think, was Rasmussen in his. So you have all of these emails from all of those years back to, 10 years ago. How much space is that taking up? And are we paying for that? Why are we not archiving that stuff?
Right. Right. That should definitely be archived.
Like we
There needs
need
to be
to,
systems
although the
in place.
municipality is not a business, there are certain things that you have to look at it as a business.
Exactly.
The other thing I keep hearing is this $15,000 that was paid to the bookkeeper, which when the bookkeeper was no longer with the town, that money shifted into the town supervisor. And I keep hearing people saying, well, she took that bookkeeping money, she's the bookkeeper. No, 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 no. And I will say there's not a bit of bookkeeping going on in that office. I had the date written down someplace. She specifically said, I cannot be my own bookkeeper, and basically said, this 15,000 will put me at a full-time salary pay. She's not the bookkeeper. She didn't take it as bookkeeping money. We need to stop spreading that rumor because it's not true.
Right.
The other thing is everybody's getting like really confused about budget versus cash, right? Budget is just numbers. They're just estimated numbers. When I'm giving you numbers, I'm looking at cash.
Right.
Cash that we have in the bank. Not estimated numbers, none of that. Not budget. This is actual cash.
Actually have.
Correct. So, for example, and I will post a picture of this as well. I guess I can't make it any clearer than this because they're not grasping what's happening. Yeah, let's talk about cash. The March 31st supervisor's report, total cash balance was $2,762,247.72. It's a lot of money on paper. So that's the balance. Now you have all these things that we can't touch. These funds are allocated. I don't want to say allocated. These funds are already spoken for. I'm going to run down the numbers. Facilities reserves, 300,000. Equipment reserve, 6,419. Ghost Road Reserve, 20,000. Park Reserve, 45,500. Landfill Reserve, 625,000. ARPA funds, 22,880.03. Escrow money, $18,732.45. The LVPA, the remaining balance of what they're owed out of the money is $120,044.25. Remaining money for library, $127,500. The CHIPS money, which is highway money for Pete to fix roads, $233,827.02. The JCAP grant, that is for the court to buy the things that they need, the desks and stuff that they need, $3,861.76. Fire insurance money, $917,400. Payroll TNA, it's a terrible acronym, but I forgot what that's for, but it has something to do with, I'll get back to you on that. $27,617.80. Highway money, $638,244.24. Court money that's due to the comptroller, $8,878. Again, cash. We're not talking budget numbers. This is cash. I also want to say that in the financial reports last month, there was loan repayments to quite a few of these reserve funds. As of February 1st, there was loan repayments to that money, which meant the general fund borrowed it and paid it back. Here's the problem with that. There was no board authority to do that. So as much
Right.
as a certain person says, I don't spend the money, the board does, the board didn't know anything about that money.
Right. So therefore, spent the money.
You spent the money. So there's no resolutions, no board approval, no anything to do. And it would be a interfund loan, which means it would have to be paid back within the same year. So if you take out all of these funds, money, cash on hand, money, due to all these other things, we are at, in the hole, $353,656.83, and we're worried about $22,000. I don't know how to make it any clearer to everyone, to make them understand what the issue is, right? So that means we're still borrowing money from these reserves to
Right.
pay the bills. Yes, we have receivables coming. Yes, we have that, but we're never going to get caught up. So we can worry, henny penny, the sky is falling about 22,000. It's a hell of a lot more than that.
It's worse than that. Yes.
Cash. We're not talking budget numbers. Cash. These are cash balances, allegedly. These are the things that we know about.
Yeah. And then we're going to argue 2,200 for a dinner is okay.
Yeah.
When we have these kinds of things going on.
Mm-hmm. I just don't understand.
Nope.
So that's my rant about the finances. It's disturbing. Well, I'm the bad guy. Oh God. Billie Eilish. I'm the bad guy. All right, now on to brighter news. Oh my God, then I read the 41-page 1965 comprehensive plan. It's a really good read. I am going to put that in Google Docs and I will post it. I do recommend that everyone reads it because I find it interesting.
I'm actually going to read it because, I'm more into history now that I'm older than I was when I was younger. So I find these things interesting.
Oh my God, it was so interesting because they're discussing the same problems that we're discussing now.
Yep.
So, in as much as certain people think that this big push about zoning and water and sewers because of this person and that person, it was brought up in 1965.
It was, yep.
And housing was brought up in 1965. So this isn't a new thing. My question is, did we not do a comprehensive plan ever again from 65 to 2005? Where are they? I'd love to see those.
Absolutely.
So it's 7 pages, but it's big print, so I can read it without going. Here's the highlights. The name of the town was actually derived from Lebanon, Connecticut. The first annual meeting was held April 6th, 1819, and John King was elected town supervisor. Some of this makes me a little sad. The most flourishing section of the town was Lebanon Springs. It became widely known as a summer resort due to its beauty and famous thermal springs. The area became so popular that a bathhouse, summer cottages, and hotels were erected. Some of the lesser centers in the town were New Lebanon Center, West Lebanon, and Mount Lebanon. So back in the day, what was happening was up in the Springs.
Right.
And it's such a shame that, again, we're not focusing on our history.
No.
The first industries in New Lebanon were sawmills and grist mills, which were located on the Wyoming Ag. In 1806, a woolen mill was opened and was followed by a cloth manufacturer. In 1820, the John Kendall and Company thermometer factory was established. So the Kendall House is actually diagonal from Meisner's auction. So it's to the left of the green building that was the thrift store. It grew very rapidly and soon was the leading supplier of thermometers in the country. A glass works was operated from 1873 to 1876. Obviously, another prominent company was the Tilden Medical Lab, which was established in 1846. There were two major thoroughfares in town, the Harlem Extension Railroad and the Boston to Albany Stage Route. New Lebanon has undergone considerable change since these early days. Most of the early industries have left the community, and agriculture has declined. The railroad has been abandoned, and the springs have lost their appeal. How sad.
Oh.
New Lebanon is now developing with a new look. There are a few businesses and farms in town, but most important change is its emergence as a suburban community for the surrounding urban areas. The population was at an all-time high of approximately 2,600 in the early 1800s and declined to a low 1,081 in 1930. Since 1930, the population has increased at a faster rate than that of Columbia County and New York State. So again, we still talk about that now that it's a problem, but it was also happening in 1965.
Yep.
In its early years, New Lebanon had a number of industries and was also a tourist center with its thermal springs as the main attraction. As these industries passed from the scene and the attraction of the springs diminished, migration to the city began. The population declined, and the town then became predominantly agriculturally oriented. Since 1930, the population has been increasing, and the town has been changing from an agricultural community to a residential one. There are two factors which cause the change of population migration. This is actually pretty interesting, the stats on this. The migration and natural increase. The migration is the in and out movement of people, and natural increase is the excessive births over deaths. In the study, The Population of New Lebanon, it was found that major changes are taking place in the following age groups. Under 14, there's increasing births and in migration, people moving in. Ages 15 to 24 were moving out, and then 25 to 44 were migrating in. I think the ages are a little different, but I believe that is still happening, minus the births. The increase in the under 14 and 25 to 44 age groups has more than offset the loss in the 15 to 24 age group, thereby showing an increasing population. So the population is around the same. It's just a different demographic now. It's more seniors, more older people. New Lebanon has been growing for over 30 years, and this trend is expected to continue in the foreseeable future. Assuming the forecast for 1980 is attained, 8 to 10 additional okay, so we're talking about schools here. 8 to 10 additional classrooms will be needed to accommodate approximately 250 additional students from the town of New Lebanon. The emergence of the town as a bedroom community for the Pittsfield area, and to a lesser extent the Capital District, is expected to continue, and additional urban services may be necessary in the future. It's also important, I think it's in here someplace, it was still people were driving to Pittsfield to work or Albany. It appears from the information available that good access through Route 20 has been a big factor in the growth of town in New Lebanon. If the town is to continue to grow, it is important that access be protected. Control of roadside development, land use, and subdivisions must be exercised if the town is to grow and maintain its character. Housing. In 1960, 9.7% of the employed persons in the town were employed in agriculture, as compared with 10.6% for the county. It is apparent that agriculture in the town of New Lebanon and the county continues to be of high economic importance. And it's really sad that the majority of our agricultural stuff has gone away.
Mm-hmm.
The economic dependence of New Lebanon is more oriented towards the city of Pittsfield than it is to the Albany metropolitan area. As of 1960, approximately 25% of the working force in New Lebanon was employed in the city of Pittsfield as compared to about 4% in the city of Albany. More than 50% of the working population in New Lebanon was employed within Columbia County. About 1 out of every 6 of the employed persons in the town is either a professional or a technical worker, which is interesting. Principal places of employment within the town of New Lebanon as of February 1964 were the New Lebanon Public School, Surrey Seal, Sampson Diggers, which I think was down right after County 9, and Darrow School, along with many smaller employers such as lumber yards, restaurants, gas station, motels, and gravel pits. As of the 1960 census of housing, there were 640 housing units in the town of New Lebanon. Of the 555 occupied units, 72.6% were occupied by owners, which is quite near the average for the more rural areas of the state. More than 70% of the housing units were more than 20 years old, and nearly 20% were less than 10 years old. About 70% were adjudged sound with all plumbing facilities. It's interesting because one more thought. Out of every 40 units was a trailer. It's interesting because when I was growing up, my grandmother didn't have hot water, and my aunt didn't have plumbing. It's wild.
Well, my grandmother didn't have hot water, and she didn't have plumbing either for a bathroom. Not Kathy. I remember Kathy saying she used an outhouse most of her.
It was pretty common.
And
Yeah.
that was, again, we're not,
We're lucky. We're fortunate.
now we're getting shit delivered. We don't have to do nothing.
I know. Well, most of the residents were located along the major highways. There is no significant concentration in any one area. Historically, the 4 Lebanons were the concentration of residential development in the town. The present trend, however, in residential development tends to be off these main highways onto town roads. The recent construction of homes has been of fairly substantial dwellings located in the areas which offer pleasant surroundings away from traffic and have scenic views. Mobile homes have been a developing residential land use in recent years. For the most part, they've been scattered along the major roads rather than being located in the mobile home parks. There were only 2 active mobile home parks at the time of this survey. So here's something interesting, because we're still bitching about it. The development of seasonal residential land use is playing only a minor role in the town at this time. This will probably be one of the future land uses which will play a more important factor in the development as time goes by. Seasonal equals part-time. There are very few multifamily dwellings in town. The great majority of these existing ones seem to be conversions of the large, older single-family homes. This will probably be the future pattern for this type of development. Most of the highway-oriented commercial establishments appear to have been built when Route 20 was the prime east-west route to Massachusetts. Route 20 has again experienced a traffic increase. Some of the retail establishments in the interim suffer from lack of maintenance or have been outdated by newer approaches to highway retailing. In many areas, the mixture of residents with commercial establishments has been a detriment to both uses. The industrial land usage in the town is quite limited. There's only 2 manufacturing plants and a lumber yard of consequences, all of which are located on Route 20, which was again Ceramic Seal and Sampson Diggers. There were also 2 junkyards scattered in town, as well as 2 gravel pits. One of those junkyards was actually up on Old Post Road. Where was the other one? I don't know. Current development has been moving again back to some of the hillsides once utilized for farming. They're now being used for residential development in a limited manner. So now we go on to come to water and sewer. This is not a new conversation. This was talked about in 1965. There are no water or sewer districts in the town. All of the water used in the town comes from private wells. While there has been little demand for such systems, it is doubtful that any large industry could locate in the town without these facilities. However, the formation of water and sewer districts could help concentrate growth and make services easier to provide. Also, back then, they only did R1 and R2, which means you can build a house on one. If it's R1, you can build a house on 1 acre. If it's R2, you can build a house on 2 acres. is a fun fact. In every community, it is desirable to include a variety of residential types, including multi-family housing and home parks. Because of the limited labor force and low unemployment in the area, the probability of any sizable industry locating in the town is not likely. It is possible that some specialized type of industry utilizing the region's historic significance in some way could be developed in town. Rather than to try to locate specific areas for industry to locate on the comprehensive plan, it would be wiser to utilize proper land and use controls over the entire town and let industries choose their own sites subject to these controls, which is basically zoning and planning stuff. The general grouping from the hamlet of New Lebanon east towards Lebanon Springs should continue as the primary commercial area. There is also a commercial center located in West Lebanon, which is necessary and should be continued. Both of these commercial centers allocate enough additional land to allow for growth in the foreseeable future. So this was fun. The Shaker Swamp, adjacent to Route 22, could, with major modifications, be converted to a pleasant lake. The existing water source and relatively flat topography indicate that the potential for such a lake exists. A detailed engineering study would be required to determine what would need to be done and the cost involved. If accomplished, this would benefit the community by opening a new area for public and private recreation. The hill at the southeast corner of routes 20 and 22 appears suitable for a ski slope. A combination of a ski development and lake could create year-round activity and support economic growth. We're almost done. I just want to say though, like even so, these are the things that we're missing out on. These are the things that was talked about back then, and I'm sure there was people complaining about it.
Mm-hmm.
For the town to thrive, we do need people driving through. We do need, if you don't, otherwise, if it goes to shit, you think our property tax, they're gonna forget about it.
Yeah.
You're not gonna be afford to live here. But I would love to get back to our history and have that touristy part. And
Mhm.
I don't know what to do to make that happen, but it's like, it's just nobody cares about our history. I can't say nobody, but nobody seems to care. The town should also emphasize the historic significance of the Lebanon Valley. A museum displaying artifacts and history could be developed, possibly using an existing structure along Route 20, encouraging visitors to stop and learn about the town. So sad. Clear key talking points. This plan clearly shows that New Lebanon was intended to grow in a controlled and deliberate manner, with strong emphasis on land use regulation, preservation of rural character, and concentration of development rather than scattered expansion. It recognizes dependence on outside employment centers, particularly Pittsfield, while still identifying agriculture as a key economic component, which unfortunately that doesn't really exist anymore. The plan discourages assigning fixed industrial location and instead promotes townwide controls, allowing development to occur within a structured framework, which again, zoning planning. It also highlights the lack of sewer and water infrastructure as a limiting factor for growth, an issue that remains relevant. Additionally, the plan identifies recreation and historical tourism as opportunities for economic development, including concepts such as a lake, ski slope, and museum. Of course, we know that the lake and the ski slope can't happen, but I do believe the ski lodge, when they did that back thing, they had planned on doing a ski slope there. A museum would be nice though, because I know that we have a lot of historical stuff. Finally, it emphasizes that the plan should guide both public and private actions. It must be shared with the community, reinforcing the importance of transparency and long-term planning. So, my interpretation of this is things weren't so different in 1965 than they are now. So, what you think is new stuff that's coming out in a comprehensive plan for a certain thing has been talked about probably since before 1965. I don't know what that means. I did not go into the zoning part yet, but this is an amazing read, and the focus on the history, it just makes me sad. But I mean, I ran my campaign on that, and It's just sad.
It is.
Super sad. So that's it for us today. Thank you for joining us. And again, feel free to reach out to us if there's something that you want to investigate
Yeah.
that doesn't require a FOIA request, because I won't get that until
You're right.
2030.
No.
Reach out. You know, hope you enjoy our blah 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 blah. And we will
Enjoy the
see.
beautiful weather while we get it.
Exactly. We will see you next week.
Bye bye.